Hello, everybody, and welcome to the New Flame Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and I am sadly alone this week. We've had some technical difficulties getting Kareem and Dean able to be on the show this week, but do not worry, they will hopefully be back next week. So it's just going to be me this week, so let's get right into it. Starting with the NBA. Now, I normally don't do this, but this is not necessarily have to do with the actual sport itself, but it's have to do with the start date. The rumored date is December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. So that means that they're going to have to get a lot done in not a lot of time. The entirety of free agency, the draft, just everything that would normally have to do, in a normal 3 to 4 month time span is now in a 2 month time span, so they just cut almost a month, almost half the offseason just out of it. So the league is gonna have to push and get a lot of done. So let's see how that works out. For all you NBA fans, you gotta be excited about it. You were gonna worry that it wasn't gonna start until 2021 the season, and then you didn't know if it was only gonna be like a 60-game season instead of the normal 82. But there hasn't been a whole lot about the season itself other than that it's going to start on December 22nd. But yet again, that is just the rumored date, so it could change. We will keep you updated on that. And now on to the NFL Week 7 recap. We have the Dolphins beating the Rams 28-17. Tua Tagovailoa's first career start went 12 for 22, 93 yards, and a touchdown to Devontae Parker, and that was a nice catch, too. I think it was like one of the most interfered passes since Next Gen Stats started back in like 2015 that's been caught. The defender just came out of nowhere, whacked Devontae Parker, and it worked out because he caught it for the touchdown, and, Tua was pumped, everyone was super excited. But the main story was that the defense was the name of the game in that game. In Tua's first drive, he got a strip sack from Aaron Donald. He's just doing what he did. It's a bad offensive line by the Dolphins. Just could not hold up against him on that first drive, but they did a nice job handling him later on in the game. So they did a good job handling that. But later on in the first half, we had a strip sack by Emmanuel Ogbah, recovered by Andrew Van Ginkel for the 78-yard scoop and score. That was obviously a big play. 4 takeaways for the Miami defense in the first half. They were just making life uncomfortable for Jared Goff, and then Jakeem Grant pitched in with an 88-yard punt return for a touchdown. So in your first career start, and you don't have to be on the field for that long, it's got to feel pretty good. Dolphins win it 28-17. Rams tried to come back late, but they put in their effort a little bit too late, as the Dolphins don't score at all in the second half. Rams really come alive in the fourth quarter, but a little bit too late, and they end up losing that game. Dolphins are now in serious playoff contention, and remember a couple weeks ago when I said that if we signed Le'Veon Bell, we could have made the playoffs? Well, even without Le'Veon Bell, we might be able to make the playoffs, but our starting running back has been injured. I will talk about that later. But on to some of the bigger games. We had the Steelers beating the Ravens 28-24. Pick 6 by Robert Spillane on the Ravens' opening drive just really set the tone for that game. As we all know, the Steelers' defense has been lights out this year. Have an easy matchup against the Cowboys this week. That was a crazy last minute in that Steelers-Ravens game. Lamar Jackson, they were driving. They had 2 timeouts. They went for Willie Snead for the game-winning catch, but Minkah Fitzpatrick came out of nowhere, went for the ball. That was not pass interference, much like something we will talk about later. I think you all know what that is. But Ravens fall short, 28-24. And then on to the Packers-Vikings game, and no one saw this coming. The Vikings win it 28-22. Dalvin Cook, 4 TDs, over 200 total scrimmage yards. Packers' run defense obviously has not been great this year. 3 rushing touchdowns and a 50-yard screen pass that went for a score for Dalvin Cook, who has really started to show himself to be a top 5 running back in the league. I think he showed it last year. I think he's showing it even more this year. So next year, fantasy drafts, keep an eye on him in the first round. The Bengals beat the Titans 31-20. Now this is a really surprising game. Everyone thought that, coming into this game, the Titans were going to wipe the floor. It was going to be an easy game. But Joe Burrow said not so fast, as he has an excellent game. The number 1 pick really living up to the hype so far in his rookie season. Last week, 2 weeks ago now, against the Browns, he had over 400 yards. This one, he had 249 passing yards and didn't do much on the ground. But, the rushing game was there. Giovanni Bernard had 62 yards and a touchdown, which isn't horrible. But, the Bengals, they just exploited the Tennessee secondary, signing Jonathan Joseph out of free agency. He's just old and pretty slow now in this point in his career. So, he just exploited them and hit them for big plays, and the Titans shored up that secondary, which we'll talk about later with a trade at the trade deadline. The Broncos walk it off against the Chargers, 31-30. That was a crazy game. KJ Hamler with the game-winning touchdown on the sideline in the end zone. Nice little pass from Drew Lock. I think it was 3 passing touchdowns in the fourth quarter for Lock, who has really started, come alive here the past couple of weeks for the Broncos. The second-round pick from last year. But the Broncos are showing that they have some fight. They went out and they got Melvin Gordon in free agency this year, showing that, they want to be competitive. And then with this new format for the playoffs where 7 teams get in, they're like, we want to make a push. But unfortunately, that defense, no one saw the injury to Von Miller coming. So, who knows? Maybe with Von Miller, they've won a few more games, So, yeah, that's going to do it for that game. And then Seahawks and 49ers, this was a lot closer than people would have thought, going into halftime. But DK Metcalf is showing why he should be a top 5 receiver in this league. Even jump Tyler Lockett in the depth chart for the Seahawks. He just went insane. 12 catches for 146 yards and 2 scores. He just cannot be stopped. He's an absolute freak in nature. DK Metcalf is. And 12 catches for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was just on. Russell Wilson was just feeding him the ball all game. So, then yet again, you could blame the 49ers' loss on injuries, who they've had multiple all-pro talents on the IR, including Garoppolo, Mostert, Coleman. A few wide receivers just got put on the COVID list the other day, which limited them against the Packers last night. And then you go to Kittle, and then you go to Trent Williams, who was put on the COVID list, Nick Bosa, and Solomon Thomas, Richard Sherman. That is a team of just absolute monsters. And, maybe if they don't have those injuries, they could easily be above 500, as they're 4-5 right now. But I think this season for the 49ers, you're just going to throw it away. You're kind of going to tank, but you're not really. I just say this is a lost season for the 49ers. You move on to next season. You come back healthy. You get Kittle, Garoppolo, and everyone back. So, yeah, I think this is a lost season for the 49ers. Just a year after they made it to the Super Bowl and almost won it against the Chiefs. But, this is just a team that's been bitten by the injury bug, and there's nothing you can do about that. So, now on to the Monday night, we have Buccaneers and Giants, good old Tom Brady versus the Giants action. The Buccaneers, they really played down to their opponent this week in the Giants. This should have been a blowout, but instead it was not. It was a close game heading into the final drive. The 49ers picked up not the 49ers, the Giants pick up a few big third and fourth down conversions. They get down uh, Golden Tate with the touchdown with just a few seconds left to have a chance to tie it for the Giants, but they come up short as Daniel Jones throws the ball a little bit too late to Dion Lewis in the corner of the end zone, but Antoine Winfield, he got there a full second early, and this is one of these times that I wish I had Kareem Dean with me this week, so, we could discuss this, but I'm just going to give you my opinion. I think it was pass interference. He got there. Granted, it was not a great throw by Daniel Jones. It was catchable, but Antoine Winfield, he blocked him from getting the ball, and he pushed, and he didn't intend to push him, but he kind of bumped him, which forced Dion Lewis to move a little bit, so he was not able to catch the ball. So the Giants should have gotten one more play from the one to go ahead and tie up that game and send it to overtime, but instead they go with the referees go with the "let them play" motto, which has been circulating the league the past couple of years. But when it comes down to deciding games, I think you have to make the right call. I mean, I think that was pretty obvious. They initially threw the flag. It was a late flag. He threw it. Then they discussed about it, and then they eventually decided to pick the flag up. No pass interference. I think they got that call wrong, but I mean, I mean, I think the Giants they've been getting unlucky a couple times. They did get lucky against Washington that one time, but I mean, they definitely, I think, should have had a shot at winning that game. Now, do I think they would have won it in overtime, even if they got the ball first? Maybe, maybe not. I think it just all depends on. I mean, especially if Tom Brady gets the ball in overtime, it's done. So, because we all know his luck in fourth quarter and overtime games. But anyway, the Buccaneers won it 25-23, moved to 6-2, on top of the NFC South, I believe. Yes, they are, because the Saints have had their bye week. And they play each other this week, Week 9, which gets into the Week 9 preview. Let's go ahead and start out by talking about the Saints-Buccaneers game. Antonio Brown is making his Buccaneers debut. I cannot believe we forgot to talk about him signing with the Buccaneers last week. I guess it just slipped our minds, I guess. I mean, I don't know how that happened. But, yeah. Saints-Buccaneers, Sunday Night Football. Battle of the top two all-time passing leaders. It just keeps going back and forth. Breeze, Brady. It just keeps going back and forth. So, but a couple of people that have been hot lately. Rob Gronkowski has really come alive. He had no touchdowns, barely any catches through the first few weeks of the season. But as of late, he's, believe, had 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games, maybe 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games. He had a tip drill touchdown in the Monday night game against the Giants, but yeah, I think this is going to be a good game, obviously, since it's on Sunday night. The Saints won that Week 1 battle with the Buccaneers on Week 1, but I think this is a team that has gotten really a lot better, started to click as of late, especially for the Buccaneers, and this is only a team for the Saints that they keep winning these close games, even last week against the Bears. I mean, their defense just was not clutch. They let up 2 straight 4th down conversions to Nick Foles and that Bears offense, but I think this is going to go back and forth. I think the Buccaneers do come out of Tampa Bay with a win just because it's in Tampa Bay. Brady has really started to look good as of late with his new team. But I think the Bucks win this one. I'm not gonna say easily, but it'll be somewhat easy for the Buccaneers. Next game we have the Seahawks and the Bills. These are two teams that have really played well this year. The Bills at 6-2 and the Seahawks at 6-1. Seahawks have had their bye, obviously. I mean, this is just a team that if the Seahawks want to win, they're gonna have to find holes in that defense, and I think DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are just the guys to do it. But a few injury notes is Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde have been ruled out of this game, so that means DJ Dallas will get the start again, who played really well last week. 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 through the ground. Great fantasy waiver wire pickup for me, I must say. Did pretty good on that. But Seahawks go into Buffalo. I think this could be an early Super Bowl preview. Now, the Bills have not been great as of late. Came out of a close win in Buffalo against the Pats last week thanks to Cam Newton fumbling the ball. But I think this is a Bills team that, they've shown that they can do it, but they've just been lacking that the past couple of weeks. Seahawks, I mean, they've been firing on all cylinders all season. DK Metcalf, I think, is on pace for like 1,200 yards or something crazy like that. Russell Wilson will finally be able to get an MVP. I think so. I mean, I think everyone says that as of right now, but I think the Seahawks win this one I'm going to say pretty easily, because even though, yes, they are in Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills have just been faltering as of late. Yes, they've been coming out with wins, but they have not been pretty. Now only one game ahead of the Dolphins, technically 1.5, because they 2 games, my bad, ahead of the Dolphins, and 2.5 really, because the Bills won week 2 against Miami. But I mean, Bills, if they continue like they have been playing, expect them to dip, from maybe like the 2 or 3 seed down to the 4, maybe, probably not the 5, but probably around the 4 seed is where the Bills could end up, unless they can get going again like they were the first few weeks of the season. The next game is Ravens-Colts, a battle of really good defenses. We've all know the Ravens defense has always been good. Colts defense is coming on as of late, the past couple of years. Nyheim Hines last week for the Colts had 2 receiving touchdowns, then did a few flips, very acrobatic from Nyheim Hines. Great celebration, but that game is Sunday at 1 o'clock. I think the Colts can win this game. Like we said a few weeks ago, the Ravens just are not looking like 2019 Ravens, and the Colts with Phillip Rivers, I think he has like 9 passing touchdowns in his last 3 games. I want to say he's been on a tear as of late. He's finally clicking with his new team, and the first time in his career in Indianapolis. So I expect this game to be a good game, but I think the Colts can win this game 100%. That's really it for the good games this week. We have a couple of tank bowls. We got the Texans and Jags. These are both lost seasons for them. Gardner Minshew will not be playing in this game, so they will lean on Jake Luton as their quarterback this week. And the Cowboys also have a new quarterback, 4th quarterback for the Cowboys in 9 weeks. It is either Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush. Ben DiNucci did not play great last week against the Eagles, but I mean, I feel bad for Cowboys fans. No one saw the injury to Dak coming, and then Andy Dalton gets a concussion, and then he gets put on the COVID list the past couple days. So I feel for you Cowboys fans. Must be tough. But that's going to do it for the Week 9 preview, and now some headlines heading into Week 9, not necessarily about the games, but just league headlines. Mike Tomlin, John Gruden both fined over $100,000 for not adhering to the COVID protocols and wearing masks properly and all the time. The Raiders, John Gruden has been doing this multiple times this year, and the Raiders have lost their 6th-round pick. I mean, 6th-round picks aren't everything. I mean, obviously Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, but I think other than that, you know, maybe you find a hidden gem, but I don't think losing a 6th-round pick is that all that important. So yeah, I mean, not a huge fine for them, but expect that number to keep going up if they keep doing it. Like I said earlier, Antonio Brown is getting his, what is it, like 5th chance in the NFL now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, back with Tom Brady after being suspended for 8 weeks. I mean, what a time for Antonio Brown to be coming back, heading into a team that's, finally been clicking, and now you get to face a division foe, who's also a really good team. So I think I'm calling it now. I think Antonio Brown goes 7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. I'm pretty confident in that prediction. Trade deadline. It was pretty disappointing, to say the least. Will Fuller not out of Houston. The Texans wanted 2 first-round picks for him. Packers were like, nah, we're good, which totally makes sense. Will Fuller has not been worth 2 first-round picks. Maybe 1 first-round pick and maybe like a 5th-round pick for Will Fuller, but definitely nowhere close to 2 first-round picks. But someone who is worth 2 first-round picks and more is J.J. Watt, who, as of late, Monday and Tuesday, his name was getting thrown out there. He was also not traded, which is what I expected. I think, like I said earlier, this is just a lost season for the Texans. You come back next year with a new coach, with a new look, and I think you come out next year firing on all cylinders. So, Texans don't do anything at the deadline. But some teams that did make some moves were the Dolphins. They go out and get DeAndre Washington from the Kansas City Chiefs, who was doing nothing, especially with the addition of Le'Veon Bell. And the reason they did this was because, unfortunately, Myles Gaskin was put on IR with an MCL sprain. Gaskin, who has 387 yards through the ground and I believe around 190 yards through the air this season, has played pretty solid for the Dolphins this year. He's been that workhorse for us. Obviously, we are still a pass-first offense, I think. But I think this just adds depth to that position, especially if Matt Breida and, excuse the geese, if you can hear them. But with Matt Breida not practicing yesterday, Jordan Howard has been healthy scratches, I think, this entire season past week 3. Patrick Laird is our number 3 back. I mean, no one knows what's going on in that Miami backfield as of right now. So I think Devontae Parker and that wide receiver core, who is going to get a lot of work against the Cardinals defense this week. But another move that the Dolphins made, they traded Isaiah Ford, a 6th or 7th round pick from 2 years ago. Just was not doing much for the Dolphins. They decided to clear up a roster space for DeAndre Washington. They were like, you know what, here you go, Patriots. We'll take a 7th round pick for him. Not a huge deal, but the Pats wide receiving core has gotten especially weak with Edelman going on IR. Their leading receiver has been Jacoby Myers and not N'Keal Harry, who everyone thought it would be. But I think this just is a depth move. I don't think the Pats intend on using him that much. But, he could get 3 catches a game, 30 yards maybe. But, one last note that I did not touch on is Desmond King being traded to the Titans. Now, I think this is a great move by the Titans, who got dotted up by Joe Burrow this past Sunday. Like I said, Jonathan Joseph just is not able to keep up with wide receivers at this point in his career. Desmond King, who has been a top-rated cornerback by Pro Football Focus since coming into the league, They got him for a 6th round pick. Now, I think that is an absolute steal. Now, at the trade deadline, you are willing to give up a little bit less, but I think they could have easily gotten at least 1 round pick for Desmond King. Maybe even a first for the Titans, but I think this is a great move by the Titans, and I think this can push themselves deeper into the playoffs. I think Desmond King will be able to win them a few extra games, so I like this move by the Titans, and let's get back into it. Yeah, like I said, Myles Gaskin is out for at least 3 weeks by going on IR with an MCL sprain. Like I said, that's a really big loss for the Dolphins, who are making a playoff push as of late. So that is gonna do it for the NFL, guys. On to the MLB. We have Trey Mancini, just a wonderful story. If you do not know, he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer over this previous off season. He was back hitting in the cage. I mean, I just hope this guy comes back. He was one of the better Oriole players for the past couple of years on that struggling team. I just hope he comes back better than ever and starts raking again. So Trey Mancini, I think he can come back. He's obviously shown that he can be really good, but let's just hope for a recovery, and he'll be back sooner rather than later. Now into free agency, I'm gonna go over the top 10 free agents, and in my eyes, now, around, 7 to 10 is where people usually start, changing things up. But I think it goes JT Realmuto, catcher from the Phillies. A lot of people thinking he was going to the Yankees or the Mets, but he has come out and said that New York is not the look for him. Trevor Bauer, who could easily go number 1. A lot of people have him there. He has been absolutely dominant with the Reds the past couple of seasons. Absolutely dominant this year. Lights out, cannot be hit. He showed it in the wild card series against the Braves when he had that 13 strikeout performance through 6 2/3 innings. He's an innings eater. He's just a guy that just refuses to not give up runs. He fights to stay in games. Trevor Bauer is just a guy you don't want to face at all when you're at the plate. He makes you uncomfortable. He has nasty stuff. So yeah, Trevor Bauer, starting pitcher from the Reds. I almost forgot there for a second. Now, number 3, we have DJ LeMahieu, New York Yankees second baseman, first baseman, third baseman even. He can do a lot. I mean, he's shown that the Coors effect is not a thing. Since coming over to the Yankees, all he's done is hit over a 300 average in back-to-back years. He won the AL batting title and Silver Slugger this year. We had the best average in the entirety of the MLB, actually. So quite a feat for DJ. But he was offered a qualifying offer. I 100% plan on him staying in New York for another 4 years, maybe. That would put him at 36, but I think he is totally worth it. One of the best second basemen in the game, definitely, I would say. Number 4, we are going to have George Springer. Now, he did have a bit of an off season this year. I mean, I think that entire Astros team did, besides from Yuli Gurriel and Kyle Tucker. But I think George Springer has shown, I mean, obviously with the trash can, I mean, I don't know, that's a little suspicious, but I mean, he can still hit. You still have to know how to hit a ball, even though you know what's coming. But I think George Springer, we know that he's not going to stay in Houston. He has come out and said that publicly. So, I mean, teams that need an outfielder, the White Sox come to mind. The Twins come to mind a little bit. But yeah, George Springer. Next guy is going to be Michael Brantley, also from the Astros. He might stay with the team. He's also, just after coming over from Cleveland, all he's done with Houston is hit in his last 2 years there. Above 300 average, I believe, this year. One of the lone bright spots for the Astros this year. But, left fielder, DH, He hits for high contact. I think he could get decent money in this upcoming offseason. Now the sixth guy on my list here is Marcell Ozuna. Career year for him in in Atlanta this year. My bad. But Atlanta, I was honestly surprised he wasn't a top 3 MVP finalist for the NL. But all he did this year was hit. He played DH mostly. He's not horrible in the field, I guess, but he's also not great, especially when you have Acuna, Enciote, and Mokakis. Couldn't think of his name there for a second. But, I think Marcell Ozuna, he's either going to stay with the Braves and get a multi-year contract, or he's going to go somewhere else and get a multi-year contract, obviously. I don't think he's going to get another one-year contract. I think if he signs with the team, it might be for the rest of his career. He has really tapped into that unlocked potential that he had with Miami, and then, St. Louis. He wasn't great, but then came over to Atlanta, absolute dominant this year. And the third to last guy I have on my list is Nelson Cruz. He is now 40 years old. He is baseball's Tom Brady. He only gets better with age. He's obviously been very good his entire career, but now coming over to Minnesota, the man is hitting absolute tape measure shots of home runs. He's hitting for power. Heck, he's even hitting for pretty high contact. I believe he's had above 280 average, which is pretty good. In the MLB is 280 for your average. But he's there for one reason and one reason only, and that is to be a DH and hit absolute monster home runs. I think he should re-sign with the Twins. Just stay there, be that anchor in the lineup. What you're gonna get from him every day. In the 3-hole in your lineup. Next two guys, we have back-to-back Oakland A's. First, leading it off, we have Liam Hendriks, the closer for that team. He was lights out this year. Easily AL's best reliever. I'm sorry if you just heard paper rip, but I think easily one of the best relievers in the AL this year, up there with Nick Anderson. But he was just that anchor in what was the best bullpen in the league this year. I expect him to get some big money. I don't think it's going to be with the A's. I think it's going to be with another team that, needs bullpen help. Phillies, maybe. I fully expect the Phillies to be aggressive in re-signing Real Muto and signing bullpen help, and then even signing another guy that I'm going to be bringing up who's pretty notable. Next guy is their shortstop, Marcus Semien, who had a little bit of a down year this year after finishing second or third in AL MVP voting last year. He's a guy, who's been extremely average throughout his entire career until 2018 or 2019, where he kicked it into second gear. Really showed that he can be a top shortstop in the league. I think he's gonna get some big money. Obviously not with the A's because we know how much they hate spending money. But so yeah, Marcus Semien, really solid shortstop, a good glove over there at short. Could easily provide a hole for teams that are looking for it. And then the last guy, maybe a little biased, maybe a little controversial, is Didi Gregorius. He had a really solid year this year with the Philadelphia Phillies after coming over from the New York Yankees. The Yankees didn't need him, with Gleyber. They wanted to get Gleyber into second base more, or into shortstop more, so they were like, we don't really have a use for you, so here you go to Philadelphia, and he thrived there with 40 RBIs. That's pretty good for 60 games, 10 home runs, 2 triples, 10 doubles, 61 hits, 34 runs scored, an average of 284, 339 on base, 488 slugging, 827 OPS, 119 OPS plus, where 100 is the league average. So, he was a top 10 shortstop in the league this year. Definitely. Next year's shortstop free agency class, oh man, it is loaded. But to stick on Didi Gregorius, he has always been, a really solid hitter for the Yankees in his 8-year career now. Wow, he was with Cincinnati. I never knew that. But yeah, Didi Gregorius, he could get a multi-year deal from anywhere 3 or 4 years, around $7 to $10 million a year. I think he's a really good shortstop. Yeah, I saw him play, for every day for 2 years when I was when I really started getting into baseball, and so yeah. Some more moves, or not necessarily moves, but trade rumors is Francisco Lindor getting traded. I expect him to get traded. He will not be on the Indians by opening day. I am sorry to all you Cleveland Indians fans. I know, Kareem, you are one of such fans. But, I mean, Francisco Lindor, he is an absolute monster at shortstop. He just, yeah, he's had a little bit of a down year the past second half of September of last year, and then this year he was down a lot this year. But he's obviously shown 4-time All-Star, 2 times Gold Glove, 2-time Silver Slugger, career 285 average, 138 homers, 896 hits. So closing in on 1,000 career hits, only 104 away. Could easily get that next year, assuming they play a full season. But I mean, just he's been solid. He's never actually reached the 100 OBI mark, but he's just a guy that you just love having in your locker room. He's such a great personality. He's just a happy guy to be around. But yeah, here are some stats. In 2016, 2018, my bad, I misread. That is probably his best season. A 277 average, which is pretty good. 38 home runs, 92 RBIs, 25 stolen bases, 70 walks to 107 strikeouts, 183 hits. So I think this is definitely a guy who's shown himself. He's one of the best shortstops in the game. Amazing glove over at shortstop. So, and people are saying that that the Yankees and the Mets are the 2 front runners to grab him from the Indians. Now, I watched a video the other day, and I'll take this with a grain of salt, but the person making the video said that the Yankees would trade Luke Voit, that what he wanted as an Indians fan was Luke Voit and Gio Urshela. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt because it's coming from an Indians fan. And I was sitting there and I was like, hold up, man. Like, no way the Yankees would trade Luke Voit and Gio Urshela. I think if we were to get Lindor, Indians need outfield. What do the Yankees have? A bunch of outfielders. Stanton, Judge, Hicks, Tauchman, Frazier, Gardner, who won't be returning, sadly, will not end his career as a Yankee. But, I mean, I think we trade Stanton and maybe Tauchman, and then maybe, maybe like Oliva with Brad Hand probably not returning to the Indians either. But, I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, we need to get rid of his contract. I think this is a perfect opportunity because Lindor is coming up on the end of his contract. So what you would do, you would move Voit to permanent DH, LeMahieu to first. You would move Glaber back to second base, make him a full-time second baseman, because this year at shortstop was just not great for him. Second most errors by a shortstop. But and then you get Lindor and you stick him right there at shortstop. You bat him third every day. And I think that is a great lineup because then you would have LeMahieu, Judge, Lindor, Voit, Torres, Urshela, Hicks. I mean, there's just so many ways that you'd be able to structure that lineup, which is so great about the Yankees, which I think they do a good job with. But some more non-free agency notes. Alex Cora. I never thought I would be saying this again, and I hate it. I hate it. This is the worst thing that could have happened. Now, Alex Cora, we all know, was suspended for a year for his involvement in the Astros cheating scandal. The Red Sox immediately fired him, and the Astros immediately fired Hinch, and the Mets fired Carlos Beltran. But Alex Cora, he was sitting at home, the Red Sox calling me like, hey, you want to be manager again? And he was like, yeah, why not? I'm sure that's not how that happened, but it's just such a slap in the face to all baseball fans. If you're a Red Sox fan, even before as a Yankees fan, I didn't like you, but now even more, I get it. No fans had a part of this, but I hate the Red Sox even more as an organization. It is a slap in the face. When the article came out, my dad was sitting behind me. He was like, "It's a disgrace," and honestly, I agree, because this man was fired because he cheated. He cheated. Okay, point simple. He cheated. And now he's getting a second chance. Now, granted, I believe in giving second chances, but guys like Antonio Brown, who have had 5 chances, I draw the line there. But this is his second chance in the league, and I really don't support it that much. I don't think he should have gotten a life ban, but I definitely don't think if he were to be managing again, I don't think it should have been for the Red Sox or for the Astros or anyone like that. It's slap in the face. It's just the Red Sox were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna lose this season, and then we're just gonna come back next year with Alex Cora. It'll all be fine. And that makes me wonder, was this the plan all along? Because but then you have to think, well, then why did they fire him? They could have just kept him, had an interim manager for this year, which they did with Ron Renicky, and then his suspension was up at the end of this year. He'd be able to manage again in 21. But it's just, yeah, that describes my feelings about it. It's just why? That's all I want to know, Red Sox, is why. But AJ Hinch will also be managing again, but not in the orange uniforms of the Houston Astros. It'll be in the white and navy uniforms of the Detroit Tigers. Now, their manager and that organization decided to mutually part ways this off-season, or really before the season ended. But, at least he left the Astros. After reading what Cora did, at least he left his team. It's just, it's back to the core thing. It's just, I can't get my mind off it. It just doesn't make, I don't know, man. But AJ Hinch, say what you want about the cheating scandal. I think he handles pitching staffs well. Cough, cough, and Boone learned from that. But, what was that I said? AJ Hinch, he's the manager for the Tigers. I think the Tigers are a very, very talented team. Obviously, they've not really shown it that well, but they have some nice young pieces, coming up. So, let's see how it goes from there, but Alex Cora, I hate the Red Sox even more, but whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this week's episode of the New Flame Sports Podcast. A little bit shorter than the last one, just because I don't have really anyone to talk to that much. For this week's episode of the New Flame Sports Podcast. If you like this episode, week number 9, go ahead and hit the like button. If you like what we're doing around here, go ahead and subscribe. And hopefully Cream and Dean will be back next week. We had some technical difficulties, like I said. But we'll see you next week for episode number 10.